All right, grade 3. So for the next video, you're gonna do some math. Today you're gonna learn about the very last type of chart that we're gonna work with, and then we'll do a review and head on to the next chapter. So I'm gonna share my screen with you, and we're gonna learn how to draw and analyze line plots. So a line plot uses X's above a number line to show how often a data value occurs. So instead of drawing a bar or tally marks or whatever, today we're going to be drawing X's, and it's going to be across a number line. So let's see what that looks like. For example 1, Albert spun a spinner, here's a spinner, 16 times to see how often the spinner landed on each number. Display the data in a line plot. So oftentimes with a line plot, we're going to be talking about how often something happens, because they're going to do the same thing multiple times and get different answers. So he spun this 16 times, and he wrote down the numbers he spun each time. So first time he got a 0, then 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 0, 1, and so on. Okay? So first thing you need to do is draw and label the line plot. You need to include all values of the data. Here's what this means. If I have an option that says 4, my number line needs to go up to 4. If I have an option where I could get 10, my number line needs to go up to 10. I need to represent all of the numbers that could be possible answers. So because we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, our number line shows 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, we also need to give it a title. So we can use the same title that he used here, numbers spun. So let's scroll down a little bit. Next thing you need to do is, you already have your line plot, then you need to draw an X above the number of each result. So I'm going to go through my answers up here. Sorry, you can't see it now, but you can see it on your page. And I'm just going to mark an X for everyone I see. So I had 1, 0. Actually, I do need to see that. So let's move it a little bit. So I'm not sure if it's quite finished here. So moving here. There we go. So we had 1, 0. Then I had another 0. One more 0, so you add these as well. Okay, let's count my ones now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many 2s? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's all we have. Do we have any 3s? 1, 3. And 1, 4. Okay, so this is my line plot. Now it says to analyze the line plot. Remember, when we see analyze, that means to kind of write a sentence that interprets the data. So first you're just going to look. Analyzing is looking at our chart or our line plot, and then we need to write one sentence just to compare things, just like we were doing in grammar, comparing maybe how many there was of one number, how much more there was, or how much were the same. So I see 3 and 4 were exactly the same. So I could say something like, Albert spun the same amount of 3s as 4s. Or let's see what they wrote here, just because my pen is difficult. Let's look at another option. The number 1 was spun more than any other number. We could say the number 1 was spun the most, or superlative. So we can compare more than or superlative the most. Okay? So you can copy this down, or you can write your own, a different one for here, just comparing any of them. You just have to pick one thing. You don't need to interpret everything on here. Just write one sentence. When it tells you to write a sentence, you just need to write one, okay? All right, let's turn those off and keep moving here. All right, let's do number 2 together. Use Albert's line plot to find the difference between the greatest, so the biggest number of x's, and the least number of x's. So we have our same line plot. Now we're just interpreting some things. So find the number spun most often. Number 1 was spun the most often. How do you know this? Now, of course, you could count all of them and see that this had the biggest number, but you can also just use your eyes and look. You know that number 1 was spun the most often because the kind of chain of x's is the tallest. The tallest chain. Ooh, that's hard to read, of x's. So what that says is it has the tallest chain of x's. How many times is the number 1 spun? We can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Okay, find the numbers spun least often. There's more than 1, 3, and 4. And 4. How many times were each of these numbers spun? Just 1. So now we need to find the difference between. Remember, difference tells us we need to do what? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Difference. Difference tells us subtract. So we have the most was 8, the least was 1. We're going to subtract those, and the difference between the most and the least amount of x's is 7. Is our difference. Write all that in, then you can press play again. All right, so here's what you're going to do next. Display the set of data in the line plot. So we are finding the letters in siblings' names. Okay, so we have our number here in the frequency here. So that means if there was a person with 2 letters in their name, that happened once. There was 1 person with 2 letters in their name. 3 letters in their name, there was 0. 4 letters, we had 2. 5 letters, we had 2. 6 letters, 1, and 7 letters, 2. So you're gonna go ahead and take these numbers here and put them on your line plot. So I'll do a little bit and then you finish the rest. So we didn't have anyone with 0 or 1. We did have 1 sibling with 2 letters in their name. So I'm going to put 1 X. We didn't have any for 3, had 2 for 4. Okay, so you're going to do the rest. And that's it for this one. Okay, let's go to the next page. All right, so you have another frequency chart here. You're going to display this set of data over here. Now, this time is the number of siblings people had. They either had 0 siblings, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 or more. So the first thing you need to do is decide what numbers go down here. Now, I'll give you your first number, 0, because we do have some people who have 0 siblings. And I will help you out with this 5 or more. You're going to put 5 plus to say that they have 5, or they have 6, or they have 7 or 8, 5 or more. 5 plus. So you need to fill in the rest, what would go in the middle here. And then you need to do your X's. So we had 1 person with 0 siblings, and so on. Now, I do want you to do this part. What is one conclusion you can draw from this line plot? That's just the same thing as before. Analyze the line plot and write 1 sentence to interpret it. Compare some things, just 1 sentence. Okay, great. Here you have a line plot and you have some questions you need to answer by using this. First one, how many students' quiz scores are recorded? So here we have the different quiz scores. how many students scored each. So how many students altogether were recorded? How are you going to find that? What do you need to find how many altogether? Altogether tells us to do something. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. Altogether. Addition, right? What is one conclusion you can draw from this line plot? So, same as before. Oops. Draw a conclusion. Just write one sentence interpreting this. There were the most students scored this. How many students scored this, this, and this? One sentence interpreting. Okay. All right, last page here. Some problem solving. Circle the true sentence about each set of data. So you have number 5 here, there's 3 sentences. One of them is true. Number 6, you have 3 sentences, one of them is true. So read all 3, decide which one is true, and circle it. And last, we have a couple questions that go along with this line plot. Number 7 says compare the number of members who are 6 or 7 years old and the number who are 8 or 9 years old. So this is kind of a 2-step problem. First, you need to find how many swimmers are 6 or 7. So how many are 6 or 7? Combine those. Then you need to find how many are 8 or 9. Find those. And then you're going to compare them. Are there more, greater than, less than, or equal to the number that are 6 or 7, that are 8 or 9? Don't need to do number 8. Don't need to do number 9. So just number 7 here. There's 2 parts. First, find the total here and the total here, and then compare them. All right, if you have any questions, save those for our next meeting at 3:20. If you don't, or you haven't gotten through all of this before the meeting, that is just fine. Okay, I'll keep working after our next little break, okay?